Good evening, everyone. My name is William Iannuzzi. I'm president of the Board of Education, and we're about to reconvene the public session of the meeting. Colleagues, can I get a motion and a second to reconvene the public session of the meeting?
So move, Lewis.
Second, Jacob.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Could we all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, first up on our agenda tonight is accepting minutes. So colleagues, can I get a motion and a second to accept minutes of the Board of Education regular meeting held on February 3rd, 2026, accept minutes of the Board of Education special meeting held on February 26, 2026, and accept minutes of the Board of Education special meeting held on March 3rd, 2026, as submitted by the clerk and secretary to the Board of Education.
Lewis.
Second, Ross.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. I will now open the floor for Board of Education announcements. Do any of my colleagues have any announcements they would like to make?
Very brief one. Just a thank you to my fellow board members and the general public for attending the gala last week. It went very well. We raised lots of money for our students and our schools, excuse me. So just a thank you for them for planning, and thank you all for attending.
Thank you, Ms. Lewis. Any other of my colleagues? Oh, Ms. Cameron Tung.
Good evening. I'll be sharing the announcements for New Rochelle High School. Congratulations to sophomore Lilia Hafid, who recently returned from an incredible experience competing in her first international figure skating competition. Lilia, who's Moroccan American, competed in the L'Open du Maroc 2026, which is the Moroccan National Figure Skating Championship. She delivered an outstanding performance in her short and long programs, earning first place in each and becoming the 2026 Moroccan Junior National Champion. So we wish Lilia congratulations on her achievement, and we recognize her success that reflects her hard work, dedication, and countless hours of practice. I also want to congratulate the following students who have been named National Merit Scholars finalists: Celeste Rogove, Corey Seelenfreund, Ian McCloskey, and Regina Turan. These 4 students are part of the 16,000 seniors in the United States that were selected for this award. So we wish them luck to become part of that. Tomorrow starts the day that our science researchers have been preparing for in the past few years, WESF, or the Westchester Science and Engineering Fair, taking place at Somers High School this year. More than 750 students presented, 40 plus Hudson Valley schools participate, and all competing for 20 highly coveted spots to move on to the International Science Fair taking place in Arizona this year. Last year, New Rochelle High School captured 3 of those 20 spots, which is the maximum amount allowed in a single school. So let's hope for good luck again this year. The guidance department is continuing to support its students as they host a scholarship search for current seniors next Wednesday, and they are currently conducting junior conferences to start the upcoming college and career process. And within the athletic department, the 4x800 meter relay team for boys indoor track placed 8th in the state at Ocean Breeze for the NYSPHSAA Indoor Track Championships. The 4x400 meter girls varsity team placed 2nd in their relay, running their best time of 3 minutes and 56 seconds. And then a special congratulations to Sophia Ochoa, who jumped 39 feet and 2 inches in the triple jump, placing her 6th all-time in Section 1 history.
Thank you very much. Any other of my colleagues have any comments? Seeing none, we're going to move on to the superintendent's update. So Dr. Reynolds, I'll throw it over to you.
Thank you very much, President Iannuzzi. Good evening, everyone. In the interest of time, I'll move a little bit quickly. I want to reiterate what Board Member Tung shared about 4 of our students who are National Merit Scholarship finalists. All 4 New Rochelle High School seniors named National Merit Scholarship semifinalists last September have advanced to the finalist standing in the competition and will be considered for National Merit Scholarship awards. Ian McCloskey, Paxton Rolgrove, Corey Seelenfreund, and Regina Turan are among the elite 16,000 academically talented students nationwide who are under consideration for one of 6,870 merit scholarships totaling $26 million. The scholarship awards will be announced very soon, so please stay tuned. Two New Rochelle robotics teams will be headed to the state competition at the Kennedy Catholic Preparatory School in Somers on March 14th. They will compete for a spot at the World Championships. The junior team comprises Daniel Goncalves, Vincent Chen, Noor Abdallah, Penelope Conway, Paul Gallagher, and Cesar Hernandez, while the senior team includes Valeria Bances, Alan Verghese, Lucanio Block, Maximus Saunders, Azana Martin, Mohammed Arum, and Junior Luna Diaz. Both teams qualified for state competition through their performance at the regional competition on Long Island on February 21st. Congratulations to those teams. Trinity third graders Domenico Petrini and Isaiah Irwin placed third and won Best Innovation Award at the first LEGO League Hudson Valley Championship on February 7th. This took place at Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute, or for some of us, RPI, you might know it as that, which is in Troy, New York. As a result of their outstanding performance, Domenico and Isaiah have qualified to compete in the American Robotics Open Championship in June. This brings together top performing teams from across the US and around the world. The following information, and I have to preface it by stating this is New Rochelle's understanding in this moment, on this day, at this time. Thumbs up if you understood that. Okay. Not a lot of people have thumbs in this room, but it's okay. Whenever there is a threat of inclement weather, the Director of Facilities and I begin our review of our weather reports, which for the 5-day period prior to the predicted weather event is sent to us. The Facilities Department begins to receive communication from the Director about which model of preparation to utilize depending on the weather event. So it can be pre-salting, early arrival for salting, late night and early morning snow removal, or late night snow removal and employing the contractor for heavy snow removal due to the timing of the weather. The Director and I usually come to a common conclusion, and the decision to close school, if we do, is shared with the rest of the superintendents prior to me communicating with our board leadership and employing our communications to our New Rochelle community. The reason why it's shared with the rest of the superintendents first is because there's a phone chain that takes place so that they can reach out to individuals who are building leaders, just so they don't miss the decision. Prior to that, all Southern Westchester school superintendents participate in entering data onto a Google worksheet, indicating the actions they will take for their school districts, whether it's opening schools, opening with a 2 or a 3-hour delay, or closing schools. In this region, local superintendents attend a Zoom meeting that is usually scheduled at about 4:30 a.m. on the morning of a weather event, so we can have final conversation. In some infrequent circumstances, when we know that the weather is impending and it's really going to have an effect on the region, this call may take place the evening before, and it's on those evenings when I'm able to state whether school is open or closed the night before. So when you get those calls the day before and you can celebrate early, it's because we've had that meeting earlier. Many districts may choose to call a 2 or 3-hour delay in the evening before an event to give those superintendents more time to decide if they will close school or not. The City School District of New Rochelle does not have the option of a delayed opening because our transportation for our secondary students are provided by the Beeline Bus Company. There is no provision for a late run if we open school late. So our only choices are to open school or close school. That is the reason why we don't have a delay. It is our understanding that Governor Kathy Hochul declared a state of emergency for February 22nd and February 23rd of this year. The commissioner announced that the districts that were forced to close schools in response to the storm were granted a waiver to their 180-day requirement for the date of February 23rd. So districts forced to close for additional days were able to apply for a waiver for the additional days, which we did. We closed the next day on the 24th as well. As of today, it is a district's understanding that our calendar provides 180 student instructional days plus 3 superintendent's conference days, giving us a total of 183 state-aidable sessions for the 25-26 school year. We experienced 3 school closures due to weather on January 26th, February 23rd, and February 24th. Under the provision mentioned earlier, the district could close at least 1 additional day and still meet the 180-day requirement. So again, as of today, it is our understanding that May 26th and May 27th will remain as scheduled days off. If the waivers are granted, these dates would only need to be used if the district experiences 2 or more additional closures. If the waivers are not approved, any further closing of schools will require us to utilize 1, if not both of those days. So with that in mind, all elementary schools will have a half day of school next Thursday, March 19th, for parent-teacher conferences. All schools and district offices will be closed next Friday, March 20th, in observance of Eid al-Fitr. All schools will be closed on Monday, March 23rd, for a superintendent's conference day. All schools are closed on Monday, March 30th through Friday, April 3rd for spring recess, and all district offices and all buildings will be closed on Friday, April 3rd in honor of Good Friday. We will return to school on Monday, April 6th. And with that, Mr. President, I am concluded with my report for this evening.
Thank you very much, Dr. Reynolds. We are now moving into our discussion items, with the first being the Barnard presentation. So colleagues, why don't you grab your mics and your folders? We'll go sit in the audience, and I'll give it over to you, Dr. Reynolds, to set the stage.
And as our board members transition, I'll start the introduction from here and then transition down. Many people might know, and this might be new news to a lot of individuals, that I used to be a teacher. I wasn't always this grumpy old man sitting up on the stage. And during my time as a teacher, I had the privilege of serving as a kindergarten and first grade teacher. Those were the best days of my professional career. I had the opportunity of working in an early childhood center, and it is my pleasure to be sitting here tonight in an early childhood center. Barnard School is a very special school. It is a school where we educate our youngest individuals in our district. And from this building, Travis, you can go on over, it's okay. And from this building, some of our students matriculate out to our other elementary schools. A special building takes a special team to run it. Not only is this the first introduction to school for our students, oftentimes it's a first introduction to public school for our families as well. And I will tell you from experience, I can probably state that our administrators spend almost as much time wiping away the tears of adults at the beginning of the year as they do students. So with that, I would like to introduce our administrative team who will take us down a path of discovery of what learning looks like at our Barnard Early Elementary Center. And we are going to be led, yeah, go ahead, no, it's okay. I was waiting for some feedback. There is an audience here, thank you. That will be led by our principal, Ms. Shelley Owens, and our assistant principal, Ms. Malik Eiffel.
Thank you, Dr. Reynolds. He actually stole a little thunder just to see him smile. Board President Iannuzzi, Vice Presidents Lewis and Ross, Superintendent Reynolds, Trustees Clayton Fernandez, Jacob, Klein, Single, Williams, and Tong, welcome to Barnard School. Tonight, we are excited to share the story of our school, the work we've been doing to support our youngest learners, and how our staff has come together around one important goal, ensuring that every child develops a strong foundation that anchors lifelong success. Barnard's an early childhood school serving students in pre-K through second grade, and our work focuses on building the academic, social, and emotional foundations that carry them through the rest of their educational journey. This evening, we'd like to highlight, actually, I have to fix this a little. We'd like to highlight several important aspects of the work happening at Barnard. First, we'll share Barnard's vision for our students and how that vision guides everything we do. Next, we'll walk you through our 3-year journey implementing responsive instruction grounded in the science of reading. We'll also take a moment to celebrate several of our staff members who are receiving tenure, recognizing their dedication and commitment to our students. And finally, we'll close with appreciation for the incredible educators and community members who support the work of our school every single day. Here, we proudly refer to ourselves as Barnard Bats. My brand new office is now the Bat Cave. And our school community reflects the diversity and vibrancy of New Rochelle, as our students' enrollment is dependent upon the magnet, the lottery, and children that are specially placed here with us. We currently serve about 435 children, with about 160 in pre-K, about 95 children in kindergarten, 100 roughly in first grade, and 78 children in second. Again, our children represent a wide range of backgrounds and experiences, many of them receiving specialized services and supports, and many are differently abled learners, multilingual learners, and children simply requiring some differentiated instruction in Tier 1. It is our responsibility to ensure that every child, regardless of their starting point, because there are many here, receives the instruction and care needed to thrive. And because we serve the children in such an early stage in their education, the work here truly reflects a shared commitment to academic growth, positive culture, and strong early learning foundations for future learning across the district. It's my favorite slide, one of them. I have many, but this is one. None of this work happens alone. Barnard's leadership team is made of many dedicated educators who bring different expertise to our school. Our collaborative efforts support instruction, technology integration, student services, and family engagement to ensure that classrooms and families receive support needed for strong student outcomes. Along with myself and Assistant Principal Ms. Eiffel here, we're supported by Kimberly Przuski, our reading teacher. She's in the back. Woohoo, thank you, ma'am. And Katie Schurhofer, our instructional facilitator. Another shout out to the lady in the back. Thank you for all you do. But please know that's the team, but we're not alone. Behind the team is a superb staff that looks not only at children, they look at data with laser focused eyes, and they advocate for the children, not just because of the numbers, but because of what the children they show us that they need. So we're not alone. At Barnard, our mission and vision guide the work we do each day. As an early childhood school, and I've said it 400 times, but it doesn't go without being mentioned over and over again, our mission translates into daily instructional practice focused on literacy development, numeracy readiness, and social emotional growth. And that's a big part of our work. But what I want you to see and pay close attention to is our vision that really talks about responsive instruction. By recognizing our need to be responsive, our decisions are intentional, they support learning, and our decisions have to be developmentally appropriate. One of the things that I tend to do when I sit in these principals meetings, and Dr. Artiles isn't here, but I think I've said this a couple of times, maybe just to him. I think a lot about the work that happens here. And when we sit next to each other, sometimes I say to him, eventually my people are going to be your people. Okay? I don't take that lightly. I don't take that lightly. I want to make sure, and the team here wants to make sure, that the children are not just ready for their what I call their mid-elementary experience, but that as they're going and growing, they are going and growing so that when they meet Dr. Artiles for the first time, they can actually puff up their chest and say, I went to Barnard. I own that. And I actually joke around with him about it, and I don't know that I'll mention that I mentioned it, but I wanted you to know it's very important to me, to us, that we are preparing them not just for high school, but also for college and beyond. Okay? We are an early childhood school, but we are more than just teaching them letter names and sounds. And that's important. It's the team, okay? Our mission and vision are aligned to the district's strategic roadmap, whose 4 tenets provide the overarching guidance for all of our work. Student learning ensures that our instruction leads to measurable growth and achievement. Our superb staff invests in professional learning, continuing to refine their practice. Safe, supportive, and connected schools make everyone feel welcome and valued. Finally, resource management ensures that the tools and supports we provide directly impact student success. My little friend, Memphis on the left. Just a little story. I know my time is limited. He's a friend. Mommy knows his pictures there. Memphis is in kindergarten, and his teacher, Mrs. Badillo, they did a whole big experiment about a decomposing, I think Mr. Leal was there. They watched a pumpkin decompose, and they did all of this predicting. What is this? And came to school and found that not only had the pumpkin decomposed, but out came new pumpkin shoots, and that's an honest to goodness look at his face when he's learning. Okay. The picture in the middle, that is Gigi's team. That's a group of our colleagues celebrating or wearing purple for Gigi, one of our colleagues' mothers who we annually celebrate because of her passing with pancreatic cancer. And then we have Miss Jen and Miss Gina, part of the welcoming committee in the morning, and colleagues on the right that are working together in service of our children. So this is how we internalize the strategic roadmap here at Barnard. The focus this year has been on how we have filled our learning and growing buckets. Okay, I'm going to take you on a little journey with this. I'm going to talk a little bit about literacy, but I'm going to end with happy buckets, how we fill our buckets. And we talk a lot about buckets in terms of feeling good, but we're going to talk about it a little interchangeably. When thinking about our literacy work, we also think about filling children's buckets with the ability to manage a skill they'll need for the rest of their lives. Our literacy approach is comprehensive and rooted in best practices. Methodologies, resources, assessments, and data analysis help us know and understand what we need to put in our students' buckets. And we combine things like structured phonics, differentiated instruction, social emotional learning, progress monitoring, and tiered interventions so that we can figure out how children learn. So we also have programs such as 95% Phonics, Hegarty, Orton Gillingham, strategies with writing, decodable text. Those things help ensure that children build strong foundations in reading. We then use benchmark assessments and progress monitoring so that we can adjust their instruction based on what they're showing us. And then what's up there is social emotional learning, and that's there intentionally. Social emotional learning is in the literacy bucket because the CASEL framework, a research-based model that helps us implement competencies for growing and learning socially and emotionally, helps us by teaching children how to cultivate stamina and focus. So when children are learning to read so that they can read to learn, they can persevere through tasks. So as they're learning and growing, all of these things are happening and being added to their buckets. Is every bucket exactly the same? Absolutely not. Do we have a lot of the things in every child's bucket? Yes, but the amounts vary based on what the children need, thus our responsive instruction. So our literacy journey began when I arrived in 2022, and over the last 3 years, our staff has worked collaboratively to align our literacy with the science of reading and the 5 pillars of literacy, which is also a result of brain research. This alignment, beginning in pre-K, ensured that students received systematic, research-based instruction that built the critical skills necessary for reading success. We implemented structured phonics and phonemic awareness programs, namely 95% phonics and Heggerty, and we committed ourselves, we promised that we would do them with fidelity. We're not going to take, it's not going to be 35 minutes, we're going to do it for 30 minutes. It was a lift for some of us, but we did it. Teachers regularly monitor student progress through universal screeners and formative assessments. And then we strengthened our tiered intervention model, meeting after academic instructional cycles to determine what children need. And we've started adjusting our win block, or what I need, so students receive more supports in those spaces. The structure allowed teachers to respond quickly to the larger classroom work and gather data for larger building conversations. So if we saw the numbers coming in, we saw what the children were doing, we could respond pretty quickly. More of our literacy journey, we continued this by supporting instructional shifts required for this work. We had some professional learning in data-driven instruction with 95% phonics. And colleagues joined in with the letters professional learning, as well as Orton Gillingham, and we made sure that we provided as much professional learning as we could. And what impact did it have? I'm going to stop a minute. This is a lot. There's a lot on this slide. At first glance, there's just a lot there. But if you look at the key, you'll see that the number in red is urgent. Then the yellow is intervention, blue is on watch, and green is at or above. These are our STAR scores for the last 3 years. These are the scores for all of our children from kinder to second grade, starting in 2002 and ending this year. If you notice the last box, it says winter. The reason we don't have the spring scores yet, but this is all of our data. This is our STAR data for the last 3 years. We noticed beautiful gains. We noticed that, and we watched the gains occurring as what we wanted to see was less red and more blue and green, and we started to see that as instruction was shifting. We then looked specifically at our second grade cohort, which is the next slide. These results were incredibly encouraging. Over time, the percentage of students performing on watch or at or above grade level had increased significantly, reaching as high as 97%. Those buckets are full. They're full, or they're filling, okay? And we watched the number of high intervention needs decrease. So it was all happening. The growth reflects the cumulative impact of strong literacy instruction beginning in the earliest grades, so we saw it from K all the way to second, coupled with supporting them with what they needed. We dove in, we went a little deeper. So here we go with one little friend. This is one child now. Now, again, we combined, you'll see the key is still on the bottom, but this friend, and I have to be careful, I know who this person is and I don't want to divulge, but this little person showed that they needed some support early on in kindergarten, made a big jump, kind of slid back a little. So obviously we were filling in that bucket. The child needed ENL support, needed reading support, needed work in the classroom. All of these things were happening as this little person was moving along, okay? And as we stopped and looked at the data and we watched the child, we saw these patterns emerging. And as the bucket was filling, or we were taking things out or adjusting the buckets, we were watching this one person's scores change. Well, actually, no, the little person was growing and learning. Okay. This is one child, but we've seen this trajectory happening in a couple of places. And in the spaces where we've seen some slippage, it's okay. We are responding and responsive, and we're watching the numbers move. We remain committed to making sure that children are going up and into the blue and green, and we're trying to have fewer and fewer children in the red and the yellow. As we look ahead, we remain focused on continuous improvement. Our next steps include continuing to monitor, to monitor student data and identify trends and adjust instruction. We'll continue providing focused, consistent literacy instruction while expanding professional learning as students transition from, as I said before, learning to read to reading to learn. Most importantly, we'll continue to ensure that students have the time and the opportunity also to internalize what they're learning, because I can teach you something until you own it and try it and feel safe in it. It's a journey. So we want to make sure that we're building confidence. So that is how we have filled a literacy bucket. Okay. Who has also filled literacy buckets? Great transition. Watch this. Our tenure recipients. Okay. So I'm not going to call them bucket fillers, but I will refer to them as fillers of buckets. Sorry, I want to laugh. We'll laugh a little. Each colleague in that picture represents a different learning experience for a child. And I know I'm short on time, but I'm going to go very quickly, and I'll start all the way on the right. Christine Chiappa I've watched her working in the ABA rooms, and the one thing I can say about her is fierce advocate, like to the mat, right? You want people who will come and say, this doesn't seem right, this doesn't feel right. And when you have children that can't advocate for themselves, you want adults who will come in and advocate for them. And Christina, from the very beginning, has shown me that she is that fierce advocate. So go girl. And congratulations, ma'am. So she's an advocate bucket filler. Evelyn Hernandez, I don't know if I'm going in order, but it's okay. Evelyn is in pre-K. She's a TA in pre-K. And from the minute I met her, no matter what was going on, she still had a smile on her face. Like, a little friend is dysregulated on the floor. She's like, it's okay. It's his second day in pre-K. Right? We all want to cry, but somehow Evelyn still has a smile on her face. Right? That tells us a lot about how much she loves children, and that fills a bucket of love and care and support and making and feeling safe, even in those moments when you're like, enough. Evelyn is still smiling and still walking that little person when he gets or she gets up back to class, because it's time to get over it and get going. So thank you, Evelyn, for always filling that bucket with love and care, no matter what. Okay. Daisy Corona, or Flores, where is she, ma'am? Okay, I can't see. I don't have my glasses, but I see you. I see you. From the minute I met Daisy, I said, a flower. And then I said, and Corona, but we're not going to say that. Daisy is a pre-K teacher. And from the minute I met her, she is also the co-teacher in our pre-K SKIZ class. When you walk into a SKIZ class, a special class, you don't want to know who needs extra support. You want every child to feel like they are worth $1 million. And when I walk in to Mrs. Corona's room, I walk out feeling like $1 million, right? So how are the kids feeling when they're in there with her all day? Like $1 billion. Thank you for filling their buckets with love, care, and she does great movement breaks. I go down there sometimes and they're doing Jack Hartman and the class is moving and I'm like, thank you, Daisy, for doing that. Mhm. Oh, Nancy Semenza. Huh. Nancy, Miss Semenza, is another teacher. She's the general education teacher in our kindergarten co-teach class. There are moments where I think we all want to stand and cry, but somehow through it all, Nancy will throw a one-liner out. And the one-liner will take the weight of whatever it is off of all of us and have us chuckle for 10 seconds. That chuckle goes a long way because it helps you regroup in a moment where you kind of have to show the children that it's time to regroup. Sometimes we have to model for children what we want. And Nancy is always modeling for children how to persevere, even when they're like, wait, I don't know that I want to do a full day of kindergarten because I've done a half day of pre-K. And Nancy just keeps going. And from Mrs. Montano, the artist, Mrs. Semenza also makes it clear that to the children early on, like, I'm not really good at that particular thing, but I know who to ask for help, which is another good skill that the kids learn early on. Like, it's okay to not know something. The good thing is that you know who to ask for help. Okay. And finally, Nancy Ebrick-Mack, thank you. I know. Okay. Nancy is one of our star, I don't know if I call her AIS or reading, but she's incredible. I have watched Nancy Ebrick-Mack, there are two Nancys. Okay. I have watched Nancy teach reading in a way that I walk out feeling smarter. I do. Because again, in these moments where children are coming needing reading support and they're struggling and they don't want to leave their classrooms and they know something's wrong because I'm leaving my room, they go down to Mrs. Mack and Mrs. Mack is smiling at them and let's get those letters moving on that paper and don't have anything flying when you're writing. And the kids are like, okay. So she fills their buckets with love, care, very explicit and clear instructions. And what do they do in return? They do their best for her. So thank you for constantly reminding children to persevere, even when they know something's going on and they need a little more support. So thank you for that. Thank you. Okay. And then one more slide. My partner in crime over here. Okay. How am I on time? I don't know what it is. Okay, but I'm just going to just speak about this lady right here for a second. Okay. I didn't know Miss Eiffel when we met. We didn't know each other at all. And when I think we started here we were literally a week apart, but we hadn't known each other. We kind of knew some people, but we were literally a week apart, but we didn't know each other. And we spoke on the phone and she said, what can we do to be a team? I said, we're going to just be a team. Like, that's just what we're going to do. And we committed to that, and it was the best thing for us because it's just been a great journey. Okay, so I just want to talk about her as a bucket filler. Okay, sorry. It's time for her to get some flowers. Okay. Miss Eiffel has modeled inclusivity, honoring and respecting not only adults, but children. Like, she's like, really, are you doing, the kids are coming to talk to the assistant principal. And she's like, really? That's not how we do that, right? She finds those authentic moments with children and she capitalizes on them. And just as, I mean, today, she was just saying to me that she was learning Arabic from some of our friends who are fasting during Ramadan, who aren't eating during lunch. So she's actually working with them at lunch. They're not sitting somewhere waiting. They're hanging out with their assistant principal, right? So the assistant principal's office isn't this bad place, right? I wish my assistant principal was like that when I was growing up. But, okay. I want you to know that she fills buckets because she genuinely loves the children and you can see it. And I'm going to show you an example. These two videos. Thank you, Travis. Just a little context, and then I'm going to leave it for you to enjoy. So a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about Arrival, and I'm usually out, literally out there with buses and everything, and the welcome wagon is inside. So this particular morning, Miss Gina and Miss Eiffel are there, and I want you to meet a friend. His mom knows he's on the video. His name is Amir. Amir showed us that his bucket has been filled with the love and care of Miss Eiffel. And you'll just watch it happen. Go ahead. You just have to watch. Michael Jackson is playing. So you have to know what, I don't know, what song was it? You don't know? Okay, it was Michael Jackson. Every day. Yes. Just taking it all in. All right, so, okay. Now here comes Miss Eiffel. Okay, just taking it all in. This is, yes, this is normal. This is a true story. He's got it all down. But you see who he's dancing with? She has filled his bucket. She's filled his bucket. And now here come some other friends, but he's not done. No. He's going. He's still going. Right. Miss Eiffel's not helping either. See? Yeah. Here comes some other friends. Okay. Right. It's almost done. It's almost over. Okay. So this is the welcoming committee. Okay. It's not over though. So now, because Miss Eiffel has filled Amir's bucket, Amir has now filled Creed's bucket. Go ahead, Travis. So now here, this is another morning. There's Miss Eiffel there on the bottom right. Creed is now Amir's background dancer. And now they're having a whole thing, and now look, Miss Eiffel's gone because here we are now. Now we're filling each other's buckets. Each one, teach one. The buckets have been filled. Okay. So Creed's mom knows that his video, we've shown this video, but you can't make this up if you tried, but this has been a highlight of our day, of our week. So in closing, I have one slide left, and the slide is of all of our bucket fillers. This is the staff. This is the superb staff. And I want to take a moment and say thank you, because there are times when I think our buckets are not full, but that doesn't stop us from making sure that the children's needs are always met. So I want to stop and say thank you to the superb staff. I want to stop and say thank you to the tenure recipients, and I want to say thank you to everyone who has in any way supported Barnard. We see you, we feel you, we love you, and we thank you. So thank you, everyone. Okay. Okay.
So at this time, I'm going to ask all of our tenure recipients to please come up and receive your flowers. And you may not be ready for this, but we're going to take your picture as well. So, zhuzh up the hair. I just did mine. Okay, and please come on up and receive your flowers.
Travis, hit the Michael Jackson music.
So as we are coming up, I started off the introduction by reflecting upon my time in an early elementary setting. And I talked about the tears, right? The tears of parents, the tears of students. And I want you to recognize that this presentation did not focus on the playing of children. It didn't focus on recess time, nap time, things of that nature. We spoke about data related to instruction, but surrounding that data is something called heart. Now, I'm going to date myself, and I'm going to need you to support me in this moment because I realize I am getting old. How many people in this room remember the Magic Garden? For those of you who are blessed enough with years of experience, that's how I say it, right? The Magic Garden was a public television show that was really conducted by two early childhood educators who taught young children on television to be in this place of wonder and be tricked into learning. I want you all to realize that you are in the Magic Garden today. And we are being led by our two gardeners. But going back to that data, when we talk about the instructional programming and the change to that instructional programming that has taken place even at this early level, we're talking about moving our students from these homogeneous settings and groupings, right? Where, heterogeneous groupings, where you're just stuck with your class and that's how you're going to learn. We talked about the win period, what I need. That is instruction that is fluid. That is instruction that is responsive. That is instruction that gives children what they need and meets them where they are so that we can take them beyond. So it is an example of both homogeneous grouping and heterogeneous grouping that's fluid, where students come together based on their skill set. They learn what they need in that moment. Those students who excel go back into their grouping to become mentor teachers to other students. That is what you're seeing taking place at the early childhood setting here at Barnard. You know where that model comes from and where it's still not perfected? The graduate level classroom. So students who are in graduate level classes are experiencing that type of instructional base. That is what's taking place here at Barnard. So I want us to walk away with the understanding that this is a Magic Garden, of course, but it's not just a place for play. It's a place for learning through play. And we have to thank our leaders for walking us down that path. So with that, I'll turn it over to our board president for any questions.
Thank you very much, Dr. Reynolds. Thank you, Ms. Owens. Do any of my colleagues have any comments or questions? Ms. Lewis?
Hello, everyone. Good evening. Congratulations to everyone, first and foremost. I don't know much about a Magic Garden. I only know the Magic School Bus, but right, Miss Frizzle. But as someone who does recruit elementary school teachers as well, I understand the magic that you guys are building here, and I know why everyone wants to work with the small ones or the little ones, as we call them at my job. But I will just say congratulations. These numbers are not easy to move. Coming out of COVID, this whole country was in a different space, and we've had to recover and rebound in every facet, in every way. So I have no questions. I just want to say congratulations to you and the team.
Thank you, Ms. Lewis. Anybody else with any comments? Ms. Ross?
Again, thank you. I always enjoy coming to this school, and you just feel the warmth of yourself, your staff that just is created here. And congratulations to all the tenure recipients as well. And similarly to my colleague, these are great numbers. But I also, you can see that it's filled with a lot of love and joy for these little ones. And so it's wonderful to see the two combined and to see that these children are learning, but also loving learning and loving being here, as you can see in that video. And so thank you for the work you guys do.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Ms. Ross, any other comments or questions? Yeah.
Thank you. Echoing what everyone said, and congratulations to all the tenure recipients. I had a question, and it's not, please don't take it as focusing on the negative. The scores are amazing. I was curious. I saw like a dip sometimes between winter to spring, and you kind of alluded to it about how you get ahead of that. And I'm kind of curious why that trend might be and
I've seen
how you get
that-
ahead of it. Yeah.
I've seen that K-5, even when oh, sorry. I've seen that for many years there, and even when I was in the K-5 space, when I was in a K-5 building, I I haven't been able to figure out why there tends to be I call it the winter dip. There have been times I've likened it to just it being a darker day. I haven't been able to figure it out. That just always seems to be the trend, and it happens in a lot of spaces. The only thing I can honestly think of is that the day is just different. The days are shorter. It's colder. Yeah, even the amount of time we're outside, just I haven't figured it out, but I know that it can happen. And so we try to get ahead of it. And if we see it on the back end, because maybe and it could also just be that some children are just having not the best star day. It could even be just that their bucket is just not full today, or we need a little water in the bucket for the soil to grow the plant. If we see that, we go back in and we check in, and the teachers are usually spot on with what the children need. So I haven't been able to figure it out, but it never truly surprises me. It's actually nice that it happens, not that it's nice, but we can recover because it's usually in the winter.
If I could add to that, being an early childhood former classroom educator, that is not unique to New Rochelle. It's not unique to now. That was my experience as a kindergarten first grade teacher as well. I always associated it to there's just this moment in time right between the winter and the spring where the light bulb like literally goes off. You
Goes
can
off.
see the expression on their faces like, I got it. And for me, the reason why I love being a first grade educator is because I received kindergartners who were really basically at that time learning letter sounds. And it was almost instantaneous right between that winter and that spring assessment that they realized they were readers. And you can see the expressive reading take place. So it is an anomaly, but I just really think it's just that time of growth that occurs in that very short period of time between the winter assessment and that spring moment, so that when they leave the year, they leave either on or beyond grade level, and that is not your gut feeling after that winter assessment is that they're
Right.
going to get there.
Thank you.
It's just interesting to know, first of all, the connection to the social emotional, which you're focused on, and also just that trend of thinking about how the brain develops. So thank you for sharing.
Yes. Thank you.
And I just have a couple questions. And first, kudos to kudos to the 97%. That's an amazing statistic.
Thank
And
you.
this question actually might not be for you, more for maybe Dr. Reynolds and Dr. Roberts. But what happens from going into third grade now? So how are the resources and curriculum and instruction that they're getting in Barnard? You mentioned Hegarty, letters, 95% group. Are the schools that these students are now going into, do they have the same curriculum, resource, and instructions so it's a seamless transition?
Yes, they do. And I need to remind the public that there is a tremendous difference in reading instruction between second and third grade. everything from pre-kindergarten through second grade, are children learning how to read. That transition after third grade, from third grade on, students are reading to learn. So the stronger the acquisition of the reading skills before third grade, the more productive they become as instructional receivers and those people that are putting out the results of that instruction through text-based opportunities to provide intellectual experiences. I'm getting too technical. So they are learning to read on the early level and then reading to learn on the later level. But yes, we do replicate all of the programming across our schools.
And I think, I don't know if it was last year. I mean, I've been on the board for 7 years. So it was one of my 7 years on the board where the question was asked here at Barnard, like, have we ever looked at a journey of a Barnard student from K through 12 to see the comparison of like a Trinity or Ward student just based on the K through 2 impacts of early childhood learning and literacy?
It's a good question.
Oh, we're starting to look at that information. I
Okay.
think that it was done prior to this current
I
administration.
think so, yeah.
We are looking at all of the data trends now. We are also looking to, and part of the reason for doing that is to support the programming that we currently have here to see what it is that we need to improve. So we're comparing our student performance for those who are Barnard-oriented students with those who may have had a scholastic experience in our other schools from kindergarten on. But we are looking to, there's not very much of a difference in terms of the data based on my recollection, but we can dive into that a little bit more deeply.
Thank you. And then my last one is I saw that there was a dip from first to second grade, and I was wondering, is that attributed to anything specific, COVID, or?
In this, with the second grader, so in first grade, the children move from an early literacy assessment to a reading
I
assessment. in
apologize.
first
I meant
grade.
the class size. Like there was like 101 first graders and there was like 70 something second
The
graders.
78 second graders. Those 78 second graders are the ones that we looked at on the slide. And can you repeat the question? I'm sorry.
Why was there such a big drop from first to second grade in the sense of how many kids in the class, in the grade?
The magnet, we tend to lose a few children because of the enrollment just dropped, and that's how the number went down.
They may choose to go to their
Yeah.
zone school
They
as
go to their
opposed to staying
zones.
here for second
Right.
grade.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions?
But I'm sorry, but all of the children have been with us for the 3 years, except the number, the 78 were the same 78 that we saw in 2022 all the way over. So I wanted to be clear about that. Sorry.
No, thank you. Seeing none, thank you guys so much. This was
Thank
great.
you. Thank
Thank
you.
you very much, Barnard. So we are going to transition to our next presentation, which is budget workshop number 6. I am going to invite up my colleagues, Assistant Superintendent for Business and Operations, Mr. Carlos Leal, and our Business Administrator, Ms. Joy Mike. Keeping in mind that every school district that has a city school district designation is required to provide budget information as it produces its budget to the community. I think we are required to have a minimum of 3 meetings. This constitutes meeting number 6 because we do feel that it is imperative that we keep our community and our board informed as we go through different iterations of our budget cycle. Again, I want to refresh everyone's memory. I've stated for the past 2 years that we are in a financial restraint type of a landscape. Last year, we had to ask our taxpayers to exceed our maximum allowable tax cap in order to close the gap that we were experiencing due to truncated support from our state funding sources. We are in that same boat this year, but we are not asking to here's the tax cap. This year, we are looking, we've been directed by our board to stay within the tax cap 1.85%. That equates to about $4.4 million of an increase from last year to this year. What we are going to do now is talk about what those specifics are as we were directed, and the changes that might be reflected between our last meeting and this meeting in order to begin to present a balanced budget for the 26-27 school year. Once we receive the directive to remain within the tax cap, our gap has not shrunk, right? So it's about a $23 million gap that we have to fill. But the processes and the revenues that we have within our budgeting, we can adjust and allocate in order to try to be as responsible as possible in saving positions. So with that, I'll turn it over to Carlos Leal and join Mike.
Thank you, Dr. Reynolds. I will just begin with a recap on the budget process. We continue to see this particular slide because we are continuing to focus on our guiding principles, focusing on our strategic roadmap, our areas of focus, providing a budget snapshot, and of course, continue to ask for stakeholder input, bringing us to the budget vote itself in May. Everything that we do is in service to our vision, mission, equity statement, and the whole child, along with the roadmap itself. So I'll provide the budget snapshot back to revisiting our general fund revenue. And I'm going to stop here for a second because for those that have been following closely, you'll notice that the overall revenue number has actually changed. So starting with on the far left-hand side, the real property taxes, if you follow that row across the 24-25 adopted budget in lime or light green, 25-26 adopted budget of 247.41.92 in the mid green there with the increase in change over time to the blue on the right-hand side where it reads 26-27 draft budget, excuse me. That shows an increase and a percent change of 1.85%. I will just continue down that, the columns, the rows, excuse me. In terms of pilot for 26-27, we're looking at 6.6, around a 10.18% change, and that's an increase of about 611,000. A non-property tax item that has remained the same. A charge for services, a small increase of 2.48%. Miscellaneous, no change there. And state aid, we have an increase of 5.36%, or the actual increase of 4,869,969. Other state aid, there was a bit of a decrease, which we have spoken about. And then federal aid. And the yellow row is the change that I want to highlight this evening. So we have, in trying to make sense of the revenue, and it's taken us a lot longer to get to this point, and that's really because we're being very strategic and thoughtful so that we can save as many positions and be strategic. I'm just going to continue to use the word strategic to make this a process that values our educators because we understand that every single individual makes a difference. That being said, in 24-25, we did move some reserves into the budget itself. In 25-26, we moved $1 million. In 26-27, we are actually moving $2,235,538, which is an increase from the previous year of $1,235,358, or a percent change of 123.54%. This is a difference from what we presented previously. Previously, we had shared that we had a revenue of $369,133,807, and So you'll notice here that what we're basically doing is we're moving money that we are allowed to do for the purposes of supporting unemployment. And so we move some dollars from our unemployment reserve into our unemployment line, as opposed to just leaving that as an expense. We actually moved it from the reserves, which allows us to move other dollars a little bit. Same for workers' compensation. We took some dollars from there. EBLAR, which is our employee benefits, secured liability, and our debt service. So if you follow me on the total revenue, and I want to keep using the pointer, but it doesn't work here. But if you follow the total revenue line and meet me at 26-27 draft budget, we're proposing now a revenue of 370,369,165, which is more than what we previously showed you. And then the increase itself is now 10,900,568. Previously, it was 9,665,210. And so the percent is now 3.03%, and where previously it was 2.69%, and that's budget to budget. What that equates to is a difference on the proposed potential reductions. The board again has asked us to work within the tax cap levy of 1.85%, which is what we have done. And keeping in mind that the 1.85% is within the New York State tax cap law, so it requires simple majority vote. So the total revenue is now 370,369,165, an increase of about $1.2 million that you'll take from the previous page. And then the eliminates the budget gap that Dr. Reynolds just spoke of, which was around 23, but it's 22,490,274. Previously, we had shared with the community that we were looking at a reduction of about 109 positions. We have reduced that to 80 positions, around 80 positions. This includes some positions that we will be losing to attrition. So it's not the number of people who will be losing a job. So I want to make that clear. So we're not saying that 80 folks, it is 80 positions. And last year we tried to clarify the difference. So it is fewer than that. The estimated increase for the average home with an assessed value of 16,000 would mean annually $265.18 or monthly $22.10. So that is the big change that we wanted to present to the community this evening. And then that being said, in the subsequent presentation, we will break all this down in terms of function codes and provide a great more deal of clarity. However, this evening, we do have another important item to speak of, and so I will ask Joy to continue the presentation, speaking about the capital. That's a huge piece of this as well.
Good evening and thank you. So as Mr. Leal mentioned, I'm going to focus on our capital priorities going into the 26-27 school year. We are looking to continue with district-wide capital improvement projects with a focus on health and safety. Specifically, we are looking to replace a number of boilers. We're looking to do some improvements to our public address system or our PA systems at our elementary buildings and our middle school buildings as well. We are looking to do some replacements of our district-wide building system management controls or BMS controls, and some HVAC units as well. And also planning to do some improvements to the high school campus with regards to drainage and stormwater mitigation. So this is a brief look back into the projects that were prioritized for this particular school year for 25-26. So the columns in front of you, and so two on the left and right, you will see a list of projects listed by building from Albert Leonard through City Hall, different projects that came to be prioritized through our budget process. Projects such as painting and asphalt repair, flooring and auditorium curtains that were in need of repair, as well as sidewalks and asphalt for safety at different sites, and a number of classroom doors, windows, and cameras and things of that nature. So that's sort of a look at the priorities that were listed for this school year. And transitioning through the budget process for 26, 27, we've continued to ask all of our buildings and directors to look at our sites and see different projects that are priority for ongoing maintenance. And again, the list is in front of you from Albert Leonard through Columbus, projects such as additional auditorium work, fencing for security, security enhancements with additional cameras, some flooring replacements that will always be necessary for a district our size and across all of our buildings, and then different safety upgrades or replacements regards to windows, coverings, and screens. So I'm not going to read each individual project, but these were prioritized through the leadership team for those ongoing maintenance needs that we have every year. This next section is really for projects that cannot be done in-house or managed by our facilities team, but would require sort of a broader approach with our architects and construction managers and just larger projects that need to be done on a cycle. So in particular, the priority projects that you have listed were identified by our building condition survey. That's a survey that is required to be done every 5 years for all school districts so that each building is assessed for the needs on a facilities basis. So in terms of the elementary boiler replacements, we are specifically looking at the building that we are in, Barnard, Davis, Jefferson, and Trinity. We are looking to replace some boilers that are past end of life. I know there's at least one or two that are not functioning but used for parts. And so we are looking to make those replacements to provide energy savings and to continue to maintain a comfortable environment. For the public access or PA system updates, I will note that that project is underway at New Rochelle High School. So for the larger project, we are looking to replicate that for our elementary buildings and our middle schools to focus on facilitating building safety and security, and also to standardize our communication systems. In terms of the building management system updates, that's just the system that is used to maintain and sort of control all of our building environments. And so we are looking to replace those control systems and update them to facilitate the heating and ventilation systems and the maintenance of that requirement that was put into law, I believe, last year, that we cannot go above 88 degrees in our classroom spaces. And so that BMS system will help to facilitate that effort. And we also will have a replacement of some rooftop HVAC units, specifically because they are also end of life. They have been repaired over time, but there are several that were identified in that survey as needing to be replaced. Continuing on for the larger project, we are looking to sort of facilitate and finalize the New Rochelle pool renovations. You know, the board and public may recall that there was funding over multiple referendums in the past. Initially, following the Ida flood, there was a referendum to replace the pool. And then in 2024, the board and voters approved additional funding from our capital reserve that didn't require any additional tax burden. So those funds are in place, but as the architects have reviewed the needs for that renovation, and looked at different studies of the groundwater. It's determined that we need to do some drainage, stormwater, and flood mitigation at the high school campus, specifically to handle water pumping and storage when we have a big rain event, and to do some remediation with the soil and rocks so that stormwater can be managed away from the structure, away from our libraries, away from the pool that we're looking to renovate. To assist with that effort, there will be a generator required, and so that's part of that plan. And then in addition, we are looking to replace the bleachers on the home side of the high school campus, specifically for a couple of reasons. One, the bleachers do need to be replaced. They have been maintained, but they are also aging, and it will facilitate the ability to collect stormwater. Again, it's about managing the heavy rains. And so buying us time to get that stormwater away from the high school buildings. And so that will require some piping and restoration as well. So what will that look like? It will become proposition number 2 before the voters on May 19th. And it will be, it will include language of a school district bond proposition. And that will be important to recall. So that will require voter approval for a district-wide project to include the things that I just mentioned, the boiler replacements, the public address system, the building management system, the pool renovations, and the related improvements specifically for drainage, stormwater, and flood mitigation, some exterior masonry related to those things, and then replacement of the bleachers and the HVAC unit replacements. So that sounds like a lot, and it is a lot. But it's definitely work that has been identified as needing to happen and part of our ongoing maintenance of our facilities. So I'm going to sort of give us a conclusion and the budget roadmap that we bring back every time that we do one of our workshops. Obviously, we are well in the budget development process and coming to the conclusion of that. Tonight, we have workshop number 7, and then next Tuesday will be workshop number 8, which would also be the adoption of the budget by the final adoption by the Board of Ed. We will have a hearing on May 5th and then the budget vote on May 19th. And that's just a picture of the couple of extra meetings that were added so that we could continue to have the dialogue as we go through the budget development process. We encourage those in the public that may not be at a board meeting to send feedback to us. They can email the board at boe@nredlearn.org. We also do have a budget questions email at nredlearn.org that the community can also utilize to ask us questions so that we can keep people informed and clarify anything that needs to be clarified. And we also encourage the community to attend board meetings, watch them streamed online or on the website. And I do believe there are archived videos as well that are on the district website. So there will be ongoing meetings following the board adoption and the hearing that Dr. Reynolds will facilitate. So. I will turn it over to Dr. Reynolds for questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much to the team. We're also joined tonight by Mr. Keith Watkins, our Director of Facilities, in case any questions come up. But before we turn it over to questions, I just wanted to be very clear to the community that the steps that we're currently undertaking with the pool are, I believe, to be imperative. We can replace the pool with the money that we have today and run the risk of the next harsh rainfall and doing the same thing again, flooding the pool. Keeping in mind, the water did not flow in from the top over into the pool. It came from underground. And that's because we had not in a long time done a study of our piping and pitching that is supposed to remove the water from that pool area. So that is why we're undertaking this drainage study and taking this step first. We are looking to improve the irrigation of the area around the high school, which includes the front of the high school as well, to bring waters away from our schools so that we do not flood. And prior to replacing the pool, making sure that we have a system in place that will allow us to store flood water in a manner that is going to allow our employees to keep up with the rainfall so that it does not just, I was going to say pool in the pool, but literally just gather under the pool. So that is a reason for why we're doing what we're doing. It is important for our community to also know that should this bond be approved to present to the community and pass, it will not be a cost to our taxpayers next year. That will be at a future date once the work has started or is close to conclusion, and that's where we will feel the impact of that bond. It's important that we, as money that we owe for our existing bonds start coming off of our rolls, that we try to keep that pretty level by adding more bonds for projects. Because even though we're in financial constraints, the life of our buildings don't stop getting older. And anything that we don't fix today only becomes a more expensive and bigger problem in the future. So with that, I turn it over to you, Mr. President, for questions.
Perfect, thank you. Can you guys just re-explain what a building condition survey is, the law around those, and the importance of continuously doing these types of improvement projects?
Absolutely. So for quite a long time in New York State history, there was no requirement by the state to do a survey of how healthy your buildings are and all of the apparatus, all of the components within the building. And there was many of our buildings in our school systems across the state are well more than a century old, right? So there was a time where there was an increase at the state level asking for work to be done to repair our schools. And we realized that that was bankrupting the communities. So what was put into place was called the BCS process, the Building Condition Survey process, which requires every school district to do a full study of every building and its borders, every school building and its borders on a 5-year basis. And from that study, from that survey, it gives us basically a list of items that need to be repaired within those 5 years before the next survey is done. If we do not make those repairs that are required by the state, and let's just say we put in a bid to build a new pool, the state will say, well, not until you fix what's supposed to be fixed can you use taxpayer money to do something that you want to do. So that's why those requirements were put into place. Did I miss anything? Okay.
Thank you. Do any of my colleagues have any comments or questions? Yep, Ms. Klein?
Thank you for all this information. Would you mind reminding me? You talked about a new law on the books or a new requirement from New York State regarding heat. And those, you called them excessive heat days.
Yes.
Can you just explain it again, how it affects us?
Sure. So again, for years, New York State law has a requirement for a low level of temperature in classroom settings and instructional spaces. So if our temperatures dip below, and I don't know what that number is.
60 in classrooms and 65 in large group instruction.
68 degrees in classrooms and 65 degrees in larger instructional areas. If those temperatures dip due to cold weather, not because of air conditioning, then we are supposed to close those spaces to occupants unless we can heat it through some other means. Very recently, within the last 2 years, that same type of thinking was applied for the opposite end. There had never been an excessive amount of heat. So there's a new bill that's newer to New York State called the Heat Index Bill, which states that any instructional space that is above 88 degrees should be shut down. And if it's the entire building, then we would have to shut down the entire building. What the law prescribes is Let's say, for instance, the air conditioning goes out in this room. We couldn't occupy this room as long as there are other rooms that are below 88 degrees. So we would just have to move the occupants to a different place in the building as long as we can. But if the entire building is out, then we would have to shut the building down. You're welcome.
And as a part two, Soup. Sorry, Dr. Reynolds. Can you also tell
That's
folks
okay.
at home what happens when a school closes? Do we?
Sure.
What happens when one of our schools close because of the heat index?
So whether it's because of the heat index or for any reason, if we close a school for instruction when the rest of the district and the state is open, for instance, I shared with you that during those snow emergency days, the governor called a state of emergency. That means that every school district is approved to close their schools on that day. It's governor imposed, right? And the commissioner agreed with it. If we close the school on that day, it would not count against a 180-day state aid count. Every school district is required in New York State to have a minimum of 180 days of in-seat instruction for our students. Included with that are the amount of days that you have for superintendent's conference days. As long as your instructional staff is being professionally developed during those days, they count towards instructional days as well. But we are capped at 4 superintendent's conference days a year. We can't have any more than 4. So those numbers, that number of 180 is set in stone, no matter what the rest of the calendar looks like. So if, and forgive me for sounding callous, if we keep adding federal and state holidays to our calendar, we still have to meet 180 days. That's what extends our calendar, either before or after what we're used to for the school year. On any day, and I'll give an example, 2 years ago, Trinity Elementary School, that area of New Rochelle, was without power prior to the school being opened. We decided that day not to open Trinity School because we were told by the powers that be that power would not be restored until maybe 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock. So we can't have a school open knowing that the building's going to be without power for that long of an amount of time. So we closed only Trinity that day. Every other school was open. That year, we had exactly 180 days of school with all of the other closings. The cost of closing Trinity for that one day during that year, this is 2 years ago, was over $17,000 in state aid that we didn't get. So every time that we don't open a school or have to close a school due to the heat index, we run the risk of at least 17,000. And that was just based on how many students were in the school on that day, right? So for a larger school, it would be more. For a smaller school, it would be less. That is all of the consideration that has to go into opening a school or closing a school, which includes snow days. But I will state emphatically, the safety of our students, our staff, and our faculty come first and foremost. We don't think about whether we're going to open a school or close a school just because of the 180 days. We'll figure it out on the back end. Safety and security comes first.
Thank you.
Ms. Ross?
Thank you again for these budget presentations, and just want to ask for the bond specifically, and I know we've discussed this before. I want to say in prior years, maybe we've gone out with very large bonds, but over the last few years, we've gone out with smaller bonds. Can you explain the reason behind why we've sort of moved towards this model?
Sure. I can use the example of our most recent bond, which was $106 million. That bond was presented to the public to help build our security vestibules, right? So that was the major portion of our bond. Nope, sorry, I'm going to let Keith answer before I put my foot in my mouth.
No, you were so close. 2016, the community approved a $106 million bond. To my knowledge, arriving here in 2017, there hadn't been a substantial bond approved or implemented or suggested for almost 30 years prior. Small projects, way too late. So that 106 If you think about 1.6 million square feet across 10 different buildings, sounds like a lot of money, right? But if you're involving infrastructure, windows, roofs, boilers, technology systems, it goes a long way, but it really doesn't go far enough. And when people don't see that on the outside of the building, they kind of wonder where it went. But I've always offered to give free tours of the inside of the building as well. So I still keep that open. We just are coming to the tail end of a 23 project that the voters approved for 29.5 million. Sorry. Those are way easier to manage for a district. We should be doing that almost annually, or sorry, it should be doing yearly, saving those larger ones for bigger projects that come with the building condition survey. Larger projects take longer to plan. Project like we're just completing right now, I have to tell you, it was almost a pleasure to do. It was much more sizable. There was way less change orders. We got more value for the money that the voters agreed to put behind it, right? So the spaces that you're going to see as we start to open those spaces, the Whitney and the Isaac ventilation, you're going to see some amazing things because those projects are way more manageable, and we should be doing those regularly. Save the big projects for the unknowns and larger infrastructure things. This is the way that we really should be doing this.
And the vestibules, are they all complete in all of our buildings at this point?
Yes, they are. The vestibules are they all are the vestibules all complete in our buildings? Yes, they are. What we're still working on are some little punch list items of, minor improvements. This door needs a different lock. This is a different key, things of that nature. But for the totality of the project, it is complete. Just to go back and answer your question a little bit further, why have we taken this practice of having bonds some years and not having other years? We also want to be cognizant of what we're asking our taxpayers in any given year. So we acknowledge that last year we looked to go above the maximum allowable tax levy. So we said, do we really ask for a bond in this year? This year we're remaining within the tax levy cap. So this is a more reasonable year to put forward some work that needs to happen. Again, with the reminder that our buildings get older every day and we do need to get the work done.
Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Colleagues, let's return to the stage where we have, I believe, 3 more discussion items. Okay, colleagues, our next discussion item is the 2026-2027 school calendar. Dr. Reynolds, you want to just set the stage for us?
Thank you, Mr. President. Firstly, I would like to thank my colleague in the Federation of United School Employees, President Mary Claire Breslin, for working with the district in approving this calendar. So next year's calendar is basically based upon the Southern Westchester Board of Cooperative Educational Services, or Southern Westchester BOCES calendar. We use that every year as the template for how we are going to build our school calendar, because we do have shared services with Southern Westchester BOCES. This calendar represents contractually required 18 days of closing during the entire year, the calendar year, not the school calendar year, for our employees in the City School District of New Rochelle, including our service-related, our student-related service providers, our SRPs. It also reflects, for the first time, I believe in our district's history, or at least, no, for a long time. For a long time, that we are going to be allowed to bring our teachers in for professional development prior to, I get my date, Labor Day, thank you. I get Labor and Memorial mixed up. So prior to Labor Day. But the community should know that this calendar represents that our students will not begin school until September 8th, the Tuesday after Labor Day. So it does reduce the amount of days that our students are out of the building on that first week. It's just Labor Day, they're off, and then a half day on Tuesday, and then Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday will be full days of school. But the calendar, I believe, is one that is very responsible and one that is also a little bit generous. One thing I must state, though, that keeping in mind that entire conversation we just had about 180 days, this calendar does not afford us the opportunity to have an extended weekend for Memorial Day. So we will not have those weather makeup days represented on the calendar. We will still have days for closings if necessary, based on our superintendent's conference days. We can use up to that many for closings, but we do not have days to give back because it is exactly 180 student days represented next year.
Thank you, Dr. Reynolds. Do any of my colleagues have any questions or comments? Okay. Seeing none, we will be voting on this calendar later on the agenda. Our next two discussion items are second readings of policies and will be adopted later tonight. The first one was policy 2300 board meetings, and there was just a slight change where we combined board announcement and liaison reports. Nothing crazy in that edit. The second is an edit to our grading policy. We've had several presentations around this, so do any of my colleagues have any comments or questions before we adopt it later tonight?
Nope. Jen? Oh, you hear me? Okay. No questions, but I will say for the public that this is what it was the last time around. We have not changed anything since the last time we brought it to you to read.
Okay, seeing no questions or comments, that is the end of our discussion item period. We will be moving into public comment. Ladies and gentlemen, we are about to convene into the public comment period of the meeting. The Board of Education adopted policy 1230 in April 2022 to ensure all members of the public had the opportunity to speak at both of our board meetings each month. We believe it is crucial for us to hear from our community members about their concerns and issues. Having said that, please note that the board is here to listen. The public comment period is not designed to be a discussion. Accordingly, understand the board will not respond to your concerns and questions tonight. We take your concerns and questions seriously and want to have sufficient time to process and research issues if need be. We will, however, respond to your questions and concerns at a future meeting or if the proper staff member get back to you at the appropriate time. I also want to point out that under state and federal privacy laws, we are unable to entertain any comments or questions about school personnel and students. Please know, however, that we take personnel concerns very seriously. On these matters, we would ask you to go through the appropriate administrative channels. Finally, we recognize that right now our nation and our community are polarized on a number of issues. That said, we want our school board meetings to serve as an example to our students that members of our school board and members of our community can deal with controversial issues in a civil manner and demonstrate mutual respect for one another. In that spirit, we will insist that all speakers and members of the audience maintain civility and respect for any divergent views that others possess. We ask that speakers please address their comments to the board directly rather than the audience. In the unlikely event the meeting becomes unruly, the board will recess the meeting and return once order has been restored. Finally, I want to remind everyone that you may submit written comments to the board in lieu of speaking during the public comment period if you so choose. Tonight, we've set aside 45 minutes for public comment, where each speaker who has signed up before 3:30 today has 3 minutes to speak. If a person requests to speak after 3:30, speakers may sign up in person at the meeting with the clerk and will be afforded the opportunity to speak during the public comment period if time permits. Our first speaker of the night is Mr. Billy Coleman.
Good evening, Dr. Reynolds and the board. Just have a suggestion and a request. I know it's a trying time of the year with the meetings and coming to schools and the budget and everything like that. However, my request is that we try to keep to the agenda with regards to the timing. I know a few weeks ago, you guys must have been doing a lot of business, and the public stayed on the air waiting for the meeting to start. It was an hour delayed. Years ago, I remember being at Trinity School, the executive session started, came out to the community on time, and then went back into executive session till, 11, 12 o'clock at night, stayed at the buildings. But the respect was there for the community to have that time on the agenda. That's all, just asking for that request.
Thank you, Mr. Coleman. Would anybody else like to sign up for public comment tonight? Ms. Breslin?
Thank you for accommodating me. It's been stated repeatedly this year and last at the budget meetings that the district will remain on the fiscal cliff for each year it did not go to the cap. I would just hope at the next meeting, someone could clarify for me that if we don't go to the cap this year, will that add to the years we remain on the cliff? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Breslin. Would anybody else like to sign up for public comment tonight? Okay, seeing none, we're going to move into our new business consent agenda personnel resolutions. Colleagues, can I get a motion and a second to approve consent agenda for personnel resolutions number 26-301, 1 through 10, number 26-302, 1 through 5, number 26-303, 1 through 5, number 26-304, 1 through 11, and number 26-305, 1 through 2, according to the recommended action for each item.
So move, Lewis.
Seconded Vega.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next up is our new business consent agenda general resolutions. Colleagues, can I get a motion and a second to approve consent agenda for general resolutions number 26-306 through number 26-326, according to the recommended action for each item?
So move, Lewis.
Second, Ross.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Our next meeting will be next Tuesday, March 17th at Webster Elementary School. It will be one of our budget workshops. Tonight, we're adjourning in memory of Charles Scardino, a retired Assistant Superintendent for Human Resources who passed away on February 15th, 2026. Colleagues, can I get a motion and a second to adjourn the meeting?
So move, Lewis.
Second, Ross.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Good night, everyone.